So the day is finally here. You may have received some emails, some posts, maybe a lot of them, but it's here, June 30th, and we're so happy to be able to share Online Giving Radar with you. JP, please, you can go on. So before we talk about the research itself and the amazing analysis results, our guests, I wanted to welcome you. So welcome, boas-vindas. We have a space for everyone. So we do translations for both Spanish and Portuguese, as the event will happen in English. So you can just click on the interpretation and you can choose the channel in the language you want to hear the conversation in, and then you can enjoy the whole thing, understanding every single thing we say. Can go on, JP, please. And the to say before we move into the analysis itself, it's about social media. I'm the comms person, so I couldn't leave without asking you guys to please, if you share the event on your social media, please tag us at Giving Tuesday LAC, or you can also use our hashtag. You can let us know via stories, via posts on LinkedIn, on Instagram, anywhere you want. We'll be there resharing everything. We want your help bringing this conversation to even more people. So if you know people that could use this information for their work, or you know spaces where this information would be important or would contribute to conversations, please also feel free to share. At the end of the event, we'll share with you guys an email with both the link to download the report, so you can have full access to it in Portuguese, Spanish, or English, and also some images and a press release you can share with people you know and help us amplify this message. Thank you. I hope we all have a great meeting today.
Thank you, Julia. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to be moderating or facilitating the session. So again, just a big welcome and thank you everyone for joining us. As you've seen, JP, Julia, and myself, Anita, we're the Giving Tuesday Latin America and Caribbean Hub. Thank you for being here today. And I want to just say again, thank you to the platforms who have made this work possible. So I hope there are representatives here from Abraço Uma Causa, from Afros, from Duarte, from Hip Give, Global Giving, Grifa, Neri, ThriveMob. Special thank you to all of you who've made this work possible. To give you a little insight into what we're planning for this session, JP, the director of the Latin American Caribbean Hub, is going to present the main findings from the Online Giving Radar. And then we have two special guests. We have Samir, who's Director of Research in Giving Tuesday, and he'll be joining us to give us a little few insights into what this means, both in terms of the data itself, but also the importance of the data ecosystem for philanthropy and generosity in Latin America and the Caribbean. And we're also delighted to have Marcelo with us. Some of you may know him from Club de Fundraising. Some of you may have heard of Festival Latido, which is a big event that he's getting ready to put on in Mexico. I think really anyone who's online and is interested in fundraising in Latin America knows about Marcelo. So thank you, Marcelo. Thank you for Samir for being with us. If you have any questions throughout the session, please do make use of the chat. We'll be looking at your questions and comments in the chat, and there will be a space at the end for more open conversation with JP, Samir, and Marcelo. So without further ado, JP, let's go on and share the Online Giving Radar.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Anita. Let me remove the pins, add the pins. Terrific. E uma vez mais, se hablas español, hay interpretación. Hay un botón a clicar con un intérprete en español y también tem con un intérprete en portugués. Así que vamos a seguir en inglés, pero yo puedo hablar mi portuñol, mi portugués, whatever you want. Okay, let me add a few more people here to the room. Please, Julia, keep on adding people. So thank you. Oh, sorry, I'm moving the wrong way. Thank you for being here and for the launch of the first edition of the Online Giving Report, a report that has been built by the Giving Tuesday Latin America and Caribbean Hub in partnership with 8 platforms from the region. And why are we doing this? Well, let me introduce myself. I'm JP, JP, or in Portuguese, João Paulo. I'm the director for the hub. And before joining Giving Tuesday to lead our work in the region, I was the Brazilian leader for Giving Tuesday, also known as Dia de Doar in Portuguese, or Dia para Dar en Espanhol. We in the Hub, we have been publishing reports for at least 2 years now, trying to understand the status of generosity, giving and philanthropy in the region. You might have not seen it yet. If you haven't, I invite you to go to our website and download Generosity in LAC, the report we have published for 2 years now, where we gather information on everything that there is, everything that we know. We gather evidence on generosity and philanthropy in Latin America and the Caribbean. We found out there isn't much about generosity and giving in the region, and going beyond bringing the data together, our own work. And that's why we developed OGR, Online Giving Radar, also inspired on the work of our own Giving Tuesday Data Commons that has been doing some wonderful work for many years now, trying to understand the behavior of people, why they give, how they give, in particular, very strongly in the US, but also around the world. And we will be hearing from Samir later today. So we were inspired by our own organization. We knew we needed to do something to have fresh data in the region, and we came up with OGR, a collaborative initiative designed to generate strategic and practical insights on the behavior, numbers, and trends of online giving across Latin America and the Caribbean. We share with us their donations transactions for the year of 2024. They have been they have been managing donations in most of the 33 countries and 17 territories in the region. And with that, we felt we would be able to start understanding how people express financially their generosity in Latin America and the Caribbean. So let's go. Let me. This is in the report. You will be receiving the PDF version of our report later. Right after we finish here, there's a link for you to access. The report will be available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. You know that everything that we do, we try to do in the three languages to be more inclusive, or as inclusive as we can, considering the diversity of Latin America and the Caribbean. And I won't go into much detail on objectives, principles, and methodologies. You can take a look in the report later today. I know you all want to learn, see the numbers. But very briefly, what we wanted to achieve with OGR: strengthen philanthropy data ecosystem in the region. This is very important to us. Map and analyze key trends in online giving in Latin America and the Caribbean, and also generate and share actionable insights for all of you, for us, for everybody working in promoting generosity. A few principles in this work. It was important to us, and it's always been important to Giving Tuesday, that all data is anonymized. This is difficult for me. Anonymizado. It was important to us that every transaction was counted, no matter the size of the platform, the size of the partner. It could be big or small. We are adding everybody and bringing everybody together. And it was important to us that no platform would be identified or compared to each other. We are not comparing companies here. We are trying to understand how people are giving in the region. So that's the idea of Online Giving Radar. We wouldn't have done it without our 8 partners. I know Anita has listed them, has named them before. I'm gonna name them again, and we will be naming them in the end of this meeting, because without Abraço Uma Causa, Afrus, Doari, HipGive, Global Giving, Grifa, Nedi, and TrackMob, we wouldn't have done this. When we started this project 1.5 years ago. We have many friends in the sector. It's a small sector. We know a lot of people, thankfully, and 8 of them replied to our invitation and decided to join without ever having participated in anything like this. They decided to accept our invitation and join our project, and we're very thankful to all 8 of you for being part of this. So the model includes collaboration. All the data providers, they contribute with their data. They're sharing openly and voluntarily. They're volunteering their data to grow and
JP, sorry to interrupt, but
involve in our work. Yes.
your internet is really like not good, and we are, I mean, at least me and other people in their chat, we're not really listening well.
Sure, I can change it. Sorry, I couldn't read the chat.
Sorry.
No problem. So, Anita, do you want to take it from here while I change my connection?
Sure. So really the OGR model is based on the bigger data commons model that Giving Tuesday has been developing over the past decade and more. And it's really built about collaboration. The idea that having called it the data commons because we're building something for the common good. And this collaboration allows us to really have access to better and more data, but also to shape the direction of the research together. And that really informs then how the data and the insights that we produce are useful to the field and to the sector in general. We're also starting small. We realize that this is just the first step of mapping online giving in the region. But we hope that as more and more platforms join this work, that the online giving platform and the data commons in Latin America and the Caribbean will continue to grow and evolve and really become a relevant, useful, actionable tool for the social impact sector in Latin America and the Caribbean. And finally, we hope that it has impact in the sense that this is not just because the data is exciting. JP and I can talk about the numbers and the insights until the cows come home, as we would say. But what we really hope is that these insights turn into actionable decision-making tools for organizations that they help them strengthen their fundraising and help them develop new strategies for mobilizing generosity in the region. Go ahead, JP.
Okay, I can't guarantee it will work. As a philosopher, Forrest Gump once said, these things happen. So Anita, please feel free to chime in if you feel I'm breaking. I did change my connection. So methodology, we received from the 8 platforms their data sets. They were uploaded onto the secure server we have as a part of the Giving Tuesday Data Commons, whom we have partnered since the beginning. The data sets were standardized and the transactions were converted into dollars, because you will see in the next slide or so that the 8 platforms, they received donations in 15 different currencies. There were some challenges. The data formats. So as many of you know, in the US and a few countries, the month comes before the days. But in Brazil and other countries of the South, the days come before the months. There's also an issue with dots and commas. I hope we can fix it sometime in the world. Instead of using commas for cents or dots for cents, we had to work around all of these challenges. But nowadays, with technology, they are easily workable. And these were the currencies I told you about. All of the 8 transactions, they managed donations from countries like Australia to Europe, of course, with euro and dollars, and also many currencies in the region. And here are the numbers. These are the big numbers. This is and when you see the report, we will be soon sharing the link here for you to download. There is one page with an infographic where we sum up all of the main numbers. You probably already know this because we shared this number with you up front. We analyzed nations. So all of the 8 platforms together, they managed 3.5 million donations in 2024. It's important to be clear here. The online giving radar is not we are not trying to see what's the size of the online giving market for Latin America and the Caribbean. This is not the idea. We don't have the tools and the knowledge to try to extrapolate or weight data in order to be able to say that these 8 platforms represent a size or a proportion of the whole Latin American Caribbean online giving market. That's not the idea. What we're doing here, we are analyzing the transactions from these 8 platforms to try to understand behavior trends, to try to have insights on how we can actually leverage more giving, more generosity in Latin America and the Caribbean. Altogether, in 2024, the platforms were managed processed $46 million, $46 million in 3.5 million dollars, median donation $6.48, and the most common donation 10 reais, 10 reais, Brazilian reais, equivalent to almost $2. As we will see further ahead, 85% of all of the transactions were all of the money was donated in Brazil. There is a strong participation of Brazilian transactions in the sample that we had to evaluate, to analyze. Throughout the year, it's pretty much leveled. I mean, there isn't a big difference of donation transactions throughout the year. May is the month where we saw more donations come through. And December is usually a month where people tend to be more generous due to Christmas in Christian countries or to tax incentives. December was a month with more donations than many other months, but not the most generous month of the year when we look into transactions. But when we go to look into the money, into the big money, December is the month of the year where more money was donated throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. So it goes up to almost $7.5 million donated in December 2024 through the platforms. Also, an interesting number for us to reflect, 80%, 4 in 5 of the transactions were recurring donations, recurring gifts. So someone like me, I give monthly to 4 or 5 charities in Brazil and one in England. So I count as a recurrent donor in that case. And only 1 in 5, almost 1 in 5 were one-time donations. When we go to look into the amount of dollars donated, one-time donations have a bigger chunk of the size. 35% of everything that was donated from through one-time donations instead of recurring donations. So it's a bigger proportion when comparing total dollars donated and transactions, number of donation transactions. We also looked into what methods people were using to make those donations. So the word convention called them payment methods. I don't like using payment. I like saying donation methods, but that's how the finance word called them. And it's quite divided here. Almost one third of the donations were made through direct debt, when the donor has its donation subtracted or moved from its bank account directly to the organization bank account through the platform. One third made their donation. One third of the transactions were made using credit card, and almost 1/3, 27% were made using boleto. Boleto or bank slip is a kind of invoice very common in Brazil. And also almost 10%, I mean, most of the remaining donations were made through instant payment methods. In Brazil, we have Pix. In Colombia, there is PSE. There are a few countries implementing instant payments methods. And also, when we go looking into other methods, PayPal is there, some Google Wallet, some other ways of making donations also appear on other methods, but mostly direct to debt, credit card, and boletos were the methods that people made their donations throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. When we look into gender, 2/3 of the donors are women, 1/3 men. Even though we didn't have 100% of the transactions with a gender tag, we only had 3 out of 4 transactions with a gender tag. For those transactions that we could analyze, 2/3 were women, 1/3 men. And we also looked where it was coming from and where the money was going to. And this is very interesting. Really interesting. It really caught our eye that people in Latin America and the Caribbean we are both receiving money from hundreds of countries outside of the region, but we are sending money. We are sending money to 122 destinations worldwide. So our donors, Latinos and Caribeños, are making donations to places as far as Asia, Oceania, and Africa as well. And only 5 out of the 33 countries in the region actually didn't send money made abroad, and all of the other countries, people made donations both inside or outside to their country. Despite that generosity, that global generosity of our region, still 95% of everything that was donated within the country of the donor's origin. So most of people, they give at their home, but when they don't give at their home, they give to the world. And that's how we express our generosity throughout the globe. Finally, I have 2 more relevant slides to share with you. First, we wanted to know about Giving Tuesday 2024, because we are Giving Tuesday. We promote generosity throughout all of the year. There's one day of the year that we celebrate it even more. We cheer doing good. And that day in 2024 was December 3rd. And December 3rd was the most generous day of 24. The people gave $635,000. Is the day 5 times more than a typical day in 2024, and it made December 3rd, 2024, the most generous day of the year when we look into the sample we had, the 8 platforms. But you can see here in the charts that December 3rd was above the average for both this December and also the year of 2024 for number of transactions and amount of dollars given. And finally, upon request of the platforms, because 6 out of the 8 platforms have a presence in Brazil, and when we were looking to the numbers and the platforms, they felt that maybe Brazil would have a stronger participation in the sample. So they asked us, this was a collaborative project. They asked us to have a closer look into Brazil and the transactions from Brazil, and we accept their request. And we found out that all of the transactions that were managed by the 8 platforms, 95% of it was donated in Brazil. So 95% of the 3.5 million donation transactions are from Brazil. However, the Brazil represents only 85% of the total dollars donated in 2024. So there's a bigger proportion of donations are bigger outside of Brazil. The proportion it represents in the $46 million is a bit is smaller than the proportion it represents when we look into transactions only. December was the most generous month in Brazil, $6 million donated. And as you can see here, number of transaction donations per month. December was also a very strong month, but not the most generous month of the year. It's May in Brazil as it is in the rest of the world. And you can see here direct debt, boleto, credit card. They represent pretty much the same proportion as the global, the regional understanding of donations in Latin America and the Caribbean. So those were the main numbers we had to share with you. We have a very short report, a 18 to 20 page report that will have access very soon. We just want to invite you to support us in the work of sharing these numbers and inspiring more people to do good, give more, have more data on generosity in Latin America and the Caribbean, and share these numbers to influence and help us strengthen our philanthropic and generosity ecosystem in Latin America and the Caribbean. So please, if you are a content creator or work with media, share these findings. You have access to infographics. We will be preparing a press release to send you all very briefly. If you are a researcher or work in academia, you feel free to use this material openly and to help you I hope it inspires you to run your own study, your own research on giving in Latin America and the Caribbean. If you work on an organization, a nonprofit, a charity, you feel free to use this material to compare with your own numbers. How are you performing on individual giving, online giving, or engaging to more platforms? And also, if you are a tech company or a social investor, build partner payments and donations tools tailored to our region that speak our language. It's very important. You all know that each country has its own structure, its own characteristics. People have its own culture. So the tools have to speak our language in order to be able to succeed in our countries. And finally, join us next year. Bien, I would like to invite you all, invitar a ustedes, convidar todos vocês to join us next year for the next edition of Online Giving Radar. So for the 8 platforms who have partnered with us, thank you once again, and we hope to count on you for the analysis of 2025. If you are part of a platform, or if you know a platform who is not part of this project, you are more than invited to join us for the next round, for the next edition of the Online Giving Radar. Just write to us, send us a note. We will be there, and I'm sure you will enjoy and help us strengthen this work and have a even better understanding on how people are giving online in Latin America and the Caribbean. Thank you. Obrigado. Gracias. It's been a pleasure doing this work with all of you, with all of the 8 platforms. And then I invite Anita back to the floor to carry on this conversation with our guests.
Thank you so much, JP. There's already some great comments and questions in the chat. One that I'd like to give to you, JP, before we introduce our guest, because it's possibly more local knowledge. A couple of questions about why May 2024 might be the month with the biggest number of transactions or donations. Do you have any insights or any thoughts quickly?
We didn't go into that, so we learned that we didn't go back into the platforms because that would require maybe having an individual look on each platform to be able to investigate. So this is something we do want to investigate for 2025. What I can say in Brazil, May is wedding May. It's May for people who get married. I don't know, maybe they are asking for more donations when they get married. But other than that, I have no clue right now, but we will be investigating that further.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Anita, I will be going to this the reason why May. So
Perfect.
I will be coming back to the May 2024.
No spoilers then, no spoilers. Okay, well, as you've now seen, we have two wonderful guests who are going to be able to put this data into context and help us really interpret and understand what we're seeing as well. Our first guest is Samir Khan. Samir is the Director of Research in Giving Tuesday. He oversees all of our research data and academic partnerships. Samir, you have seen this work right from the very start, but you also have the advantage of understanding what the data ecosystem for philanthropy and generosity looks like across the world. So I'm really curious if you can give us your insights on the state of generosity in Latin America and the Caribbean, what the data tells us about that, but also maybe the state or the health of our research and data ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a great question. So maybe I'll begin by saying the state of data that supports evidence-based or data-informed decision-making around the world is not great. And in many ways, that's what the Data Commons was developed to do, which was to tackle this challenge sort of head on. And I think, the Data Commons began partially because when Giving Tuesday became a kind of movement around the world, it was actually very difficult to measure what was actually happening on Giving Tuesday. And we thought that was important because it was a really motivating factor for all the people who participate in Giving Tuesday related activation, is to know how they did and to help them set targets and understand how they could grow. And because we realized that there wasn't really shared infrastructure to do it, we decided to take this challenge on. But it's really important to note that we didn't try to do this alone. It was always conceived as a collaboration among partners who shared the same interest in understanding and measuring something collectively. And that was an important part of how we came out. Obviously, we've moved on from measuring just Giving Tuesday results to think about giving behaviors throughout the year. And also that we are interested in not just monetary giving, but all the other behaviors that are associated with being and showing up in communities. So it's been sort of an interesting springboard, and that's not to underplay the importance of charitable giving, but we think of it as part of a whole bunch of questions that we're asking. So I think I said something about, okay, we know that data is hard to come by, and we need to thank the partners who have stepped up to contribute to this initiative, because doing so enabled us to have like some really powerful insights that, just judging from the comments that I've seen in the chat, we're showing things that people were not able to see beyond their individual company or certainly as a sector. And we think of those partnerships and the maintenance of those partnerships as being super important for what will happen next, right? So one of the things is when we do partnerships, we do partnerships a little bit differently in the Data Commons. We have kind of three principles, and maybe I'll talk about two that are really important. One is we're not picky about data when it comes in. We want to focus more on getting the data in and making it our problem to figure out how to make it comparable and standardizable. And then the second thing that's really important is that we have wonderful technology that will allow us to tackle all sorts of interesting challenges as hopefully partnerships like these grow. But the technology is not the point of having a Data Commons. What is the point of having a Data Commons is the partnerships and growing those partnerships and continuing to provide value, not only for people who are consuming the report, but for all the organizations and entities that contribute data to these types of collaborative projects. And, by taking this approach, by being really pragmatic, by accepting that data it's better to have directional insights than perfect research, that has allowed us to improve the quality of our research over time. It has also allowed us to scale our partnerships. By my count, we have over 180 data partners around the world who collaborate in some way with us on a collaborative research project. And then that's also supported by a network of, I mean, I think this is an undercount really, but over 2,000 partners around the world. And those range from everything from practitioners who are interested in our reports to, commercial entities that support the nonprofit sector to academic researchers. And so that's sort of by not trying to do everything all at once and like working collaboratively and tackling challenges as we go, that's how we've been able to have the type of success we want to have, which is not enough success. We want more success, and we want these things to continue to grow around the world. I think maybe I should say something very specifically about the momentum that I think now exists in LAC region, partially as a result of the work that JP and Anita have been working way here, but also all the other collaborations, all of you who are participating in this call. And that is that I feel like, and I'm not based in the region, but that there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of momentum now, and that there's been something building as these projects have come on board. The Generosity in Latin America reports that JP and Anita have put out are great examples of showing the region what it can draw upon in terms of understanding local generosity practices and how much more we need to do and where are the gaps. I think we're really excited that this is about to be published, and we think it's a starting point for a whole bunch of other pieces of work, including doing the online giving radar with more partners this time next year. And I think it's going to matter. It's going to be super important for a variety of people. It'll be important for researchers. It'll be important for funders. It'll be important for practitioners because it's providing something that they've not had collectively, which is an evidence base or the beginnings of an evidence base for actual donor behavior in the region. And lots of detail, a lot more detail than I think when JP and Anita were first talking about this, that I think we thought was going to be possible. So we have like some stuff about payment method preferences, recurring versus one-time donors, seasonal trends, cross-border giving flows. I thought that was really interesting to learn about. These are all striking findings, I think, and I think that it provides, hopefully, as a result of having a chance to spend more time in this report, you're both really impressed at what came together, but it's leading you to think about other questions you want to answer that require that we have more partners with different layers of data woven in. And I think my hope, and I think the hope that JP and Anita will probably keep on saying, is that beyond having this research, this is stuff that's designed to be used, that is very practical. Organizations, entities can start thinking about how they might benchmark their digital fundraising against what they see in aggregates. That's where the exciting stuff goes as we work more collectively together. So I hope that conveys our excitement in the Data Commons for this work. And again, big congratulations to JP and Anita for pulling this off. And I'll turn it back to you, Anita.
Thank you so much, Samir. Great different ways to understand the importance of the work and also how this work is done and how this work can grow. So thank you so much. Now we can send the microphone over to Marcelo Iñara, as we've said, founder of Club de Fundraising, co-organizer of Festival Latido. If you've been in fundraising in Latin America or the Caribbean over the past decades, you'll have heard of Marcelo. He's a bit of a rock star in fundraising circles. But I also know, Marcelo, that you have really been championing individual donations, online donations for a long time before many of us even understood how it all worked. Tell us now in 2026 what you think these insights should lead us to think about or lead us to do.
Thank you very much, Anita. So first of all, I want to celebrate this report. It's a kind of GPS of navigation for online donations. This is my first point that I want to mention. And the second point to mention is that we are now suffering in Latin America a big crisis in Venezuela. So I would like to highlight this point, and I would like to share. We co-organized with Fundación Impronta 2 years ago the first fundraising congress in Caracas in Venezuela, with over 160 organizations. So I will be
Marcelo, está mutado.
Your mute has just switched on for some reason.
Okay, so yeah, something happened because it's the cursor was so Fundación Impronta was the one that co-organized and is pushing the fundraising association, the fundraising association in Venezuela. So I will be sharing the link to donate to Fundación Impronta, but there are many other organizations raising funds. It's a really very huge crisis in Venezuela. This earthquake, it was a really very big disaster. So I am sharing the Fundación Impronta link, but it's important in this community to share and to have empathy with our colleagues and the community in Venezuela. So I think that this is I've been taking the information from the online giving radar with analyzing. This is hard data, but I am working a lot with qualitative data through different kind of trends. So I will try to combine and doing an analysis from this hard data with trends. And so the first element is these 3.5 million donations are in a context of a poly crisis, and the people we are suffering after the pandemic, a kind of existential crisis that we call polycrisis. The polycrisis is combining the different kind of factors like the climate emergency, the rise of the AI that is generating a big question in the humanity. The extreme far right taking the power. The Civicus Monitor is saying that it's basically 70% of the world is under pressure. Our organizations that are trying to protest and to drive change in the society are completely under pressure. I highly recommend to see the monitor of Civicus, the Civicus Monitor for how the world is in this moment in the current situation. So this polycrisis is bringing an existential crisis. So basically, these 3 million people that donated through this aid platform was looking for purpose in life, because we are in a moment we are in this crossroads, and we need to find a way about how we can be more clear in the identity of the humanity for the future. So, and this is part of a big issue that we need to take in consideration. So the context is really very important to understand why the people donate, and the online giving radar is expressing about how. I would like to generate an hypothesis crossing with qualitative data about why the people are donating. The second point I would like to highlight is that Latin America have chosen an independent way from the global north. The global north in the really very beginning was once-off donations, and now when we see that 82.2% of the donors are regular donors, we have been chosen in our own way to regular donations. The point number 3 is that is something that we have been tracking with my agency for years, is the solidarity and the driver of change of women. Now, 62% are women. And so, and this is not by chance. I think we need to understand that the women has the bravery and the sensitivity for the future, and this is an element that is important to take in consideration about that. No, that is a big description, a general description of women that has credit card, they are workers, they are independent, well educated, and has a big sensitivity for the future. And this is something that we need to take in consideration. We are using this kind of segmentations in all of our campaigns for years for MSF, for ActionAid, for many organizations in Latin America. That is, women are the most generous and brave and drivers of change. I want to challenge a little bit the online giving radar. Is 95% of the donations are national, but GP mentioned that it was 112 countries. I want to bring a concept that I published in a book with Bernard Rose, that is globality, is social solidarity. It's a mix of, it's a new word, globality. So the people in this moment are donating to Venezuela. Doesn't matter where they are. So they are donating because they are an emotional trigger to donate to this kind of situation. So I imagine that and also this 95%, 6 of the 8 platforms there were from Brazil, but the organization with higher levels of donors, individual donors, is MSF in Brazil, with close to 500,000. And most of the money, that is, more of the funds collected in Brazil are not for Brazil, are for external, for international donations. So we need to bear in mind that is all of this kind of information that the globality is part of the identity of the digital ecosystem. So the last point is number 5, is that I think that is Giving Tuesday is bringing a fantastic element of generate a culture of donations and generosity, but we don't have to undermine the context. Again, the context is mandatory. I don't like monarchies, but you can understand that that in the digital ecosystem, context is the king. So something is happened. Just give me the freedom to use this monarchy metaphor. So the point is the context is the king. So the situation that happened in the week of the 5th to 11 May of 2024, it was extreme floods in the south of Brazil. And I crossed with Google Trends this information, and I'm trying to understand why it was so big, this peak of donations in May, because it was the context. So we need to develop a higher and bigger Giving Tuesday, Día para Doar, Un Día para Dar, but at the same time, we need to learn about how to maximize the impact in those emergency contexts, like in the floods in Brazil. And I think I would like to wrap up my presentation about these 5 points. So take care about the context. We are living in an existential crisis. We need to take one of the ways, and the donations just for money, they are not enough. We need to develop transformative donations, that the people change behaviors in relation of equity and justice. And this is not just for other people, also for the other living entities in this planet. We need to reinforce the platforms of commitment of the regular donations. We need to give and be much smarter in the way that we trigger donation from women, and at the same time is fight for the misogyny of the machosphere, of male sphere, of the Gen Z. That is one of the big trends that we need to take in consideration. And I think we need to do this much more, this kind of elements that is collaboration, that is leading by Giving Tuesday today. But I think Reimagining Fundraising is doing something similar. And we are now collaborating with ABCR and Aedros and the Festival Latido to have a connection. We are, by chance, the 3rd and 4th of September, we will be connecting by virtuality, generating some collaboration. And I think Latin America and the Caribbean, we need to lead a kind of movement about collaboration that is important. So I would like to thank you this chance to talk with all of you and to stay in touch. My name is my LinkedIn, and I hope that these insights gave you a different perspective or complement the perspective of GP and Samir and Anita for this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcelo. Great insights. And it does, for many of us in the room who are in charge of fundraising strategies or in charge of designing these approaches to engaging greater generosity, really useful insights as well. So thank you so much. We just have a few minutes remaining. I know that JP, you've been active in the chat answering some of the questions. Thank you very much. I don't know how your connection is, JP. Do you feel that you could answer one or two more quickly? There's a couple of questions about how the relationships were built and the collaborative process. Somebody, Elena has asked again if we can mention, maybe you can put up on the screen the logos of the 8 platforms that participated in this version of the radar. Risha asks, are there any low-hanging fruits that communities can take advantage of to drive more generosity? So I think I'll just put those questions there, and maybe you can share with us your reflections and closing words.
Yeah, I'm breaking, so I don't know how well I'll be able to.
Not very well, it would appear. I don't know if everybody else is having trouble, but JP is frozen on my screen. So I think it's up to me to maybe bring this conversation all together. JP, if you want to switch over connections again, we'd love to have you back. Julia, you'll be sharing in the chat the report, how to download it, how to access it. Again, the big call to action from us is please share, share, share. We want these data, these insights to get as far afield as possible. And the collaborative process was really a case of us sending out an invitation and using the age-old philosophy of Giving Tuesday, which is hand raisers, people who put their hand up and said, this is interesting, this is exciting, we want to be part of it. We're thankful to those 8 organizations who took that step with us in this first edition. We're excited, so many of you have said in the chat about the different ways that you feel that you could be part of the next edition. We're going to take you up on that. It's in writing, so be prepared to hear from us. We'd love to have you on board from the next edition. JP, final thoughts? JP, you with us? Any final thoughts?
No. Yeah, I am. Not really. Mostly, I want to invite people. So thank you for being here. We want to be very respectful of your time and your commitments. I think I'm back, but I want to first, before my final thoughts, invite you to our next second edition of Generosidade Sem Fronteiras, Generosity Without Borders, Generosidade Sem Fronteiras, our virtual free event on August 25th. Keep an eye out for it. We'll be sharing a registration link very soon. We want everybody there to talk about generosity for 4 or 5 hours throughout the day. And Anita, I can see I'm breaking. So please go on, just invite everybody to keep on following us.
Wonderful, yes. Do take part in Generosity Without Borders. There's the other events from our allies and partners are being shared in the chat as well. Julia has already shared in the chat where you can visit our landing page or homepage with different information and data. We'll be sending out an email as soon as this event is over. So please do follow us at Giving Tuesday LAC. Any questions, any further follow-ups that you'd like to have, you can always write to us. JP is jp@givingtuesday.org. I'm Anita@givingtuesday.org. We're happy to be in touch. We want the data commons in Latin America to grow, to evolve, and to be able to fulfill that promise that Samir and Marcelo have shared with us. What we could do with more data would be astonishing, but we've already got a lot to work from. So thank you very much, everybody.